They did something wrong. You both know it. Everyone knows it. And yet, nothing. No apology. No acknowledgement. No remorse. Maybe even a counterattack. Suddenly, you're the problem. Suddenly, they're the victim. You're left wondering, do they not see what they did? Do they not care? Are they doing this deliberately? The answer is more complicated and more revealing than simply yes or no. Because the inability to apologize is not just rudeness. It is a window into how someone's brain is protecting itself from something it cannot bear to face. Here is what psychologists have found. For most people, apologizing feels uncomfortable. It requires admitting fault, acknowledging that you caused harm, making yourself temporarily vulnerable. But for people who cannot apologize, the discomfort is not temporary. It is existential. Research shows that for many non-apologists, admitting they were wrong doesn't feel like acknowledging a mistake. It feels like a fundamental attack on their identity. If I was wrong, then I am bad. If I hurt someone, then I am a bad person. If I apologize, I am confirming something I cannot allow myself to believe. So instead of apologizing, they rewrite the story. They minimize, they deflect, they blame. They find a way to make the other person responsible because the alternative is unbearable. This is closely connected to something psychologists call fragile, high self-esteem. It sounds contradictory, but the people who seem the most confident, the most certain, the most self-assured are often the ones with the most fragile sense of self. Their confidence is not built on solid ground. It is maintained by a constant need to be seen as right, capable, and beyond criticism. Any challenge to that image, including being asked to apologize, feels like a threat to their entire self-concept. And the brain, faced with an existential threat, does what it always does. It defends. Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with fragile, high self-image was threatened than people with genuinely secure self-esteem. The counterattack you receive when you ask for an apology is not strength. It is the most extreme form of defensiveness. There are other reasons too. Some people grew up in environments where apologizing was seen as weakness, where admitting fault meant punishment, where vulnerability was dangerous. They learned at a deep level that saying sorry meant losing, and that lesson became permanent. Others have traits associated with narcissism, a genuine inability to hold in mind that other people have feelings that matter. Their internal world is too consuming to leave room for real empathy. And some genuinely do not see what they did, not because they are lying, but because their brain has protected them from a version of events that would be too painful to hold. So what do you do when someone can't apologize? First, understand that waiting for an apology you may never receive is giving them power over your peace. Second, recognize that the inability to apologize tells you something important about how that person sees themselves and whether this relationship can truly be safe for you. Third, find your own closure, not in their admission, but in your own clear understanding of what happened and why. You don't need their apology to heal. You need the truth. And sometimes you already have it. Now, I want to ask you, have you ever waited for an apology that never came? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe, because every week we go deeper. See you next time.